Hey everybody, I've been thinking about something that happened to me many years ago, back whenever I had my first job as a stock boy at a grocery store. Most of the other stock boys were pretty rowdy and talkative. They talk about all sorts of stuff, and I was not terribly talkative. I'm still not terribly talkative. The only time I really spoke up was to say, well, was usually to correct somebody about something that they had said that was factually incorrect. Something like, technically, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. From then on, pretty much, after I'd probably said technically blah 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 a couple of times, people really enjoyed just saying technically. Like sometimes I'd be working on my aisle, just putting stuff on the shelves, and I'd hear somebody walk by saying technically, and I knew that, you know, they were talking about me. Not talking about me, just, you know, I'm pretty sure it was all in good humor. I don't think there was anything actually malicious about it. But still, the memory sticks with me as as one of the instances in which people were making fun of me, although not really making fun of me. Again, it wasn't malicious, but still, it certainly made me self-conscious. On the one hand, it does seem strange to me for people to mock academic intelligence, like as if to know a lot of stuff is something worth belittling somebody over. I mean, I haven't experienced it very much, because even though I've always considered myself to be moderately intelligent, I've never really considered it to be a thing that makes me superior to anybody else. After all, academic intelligence is hardly the sole measure of a person's worth, not even close. Even so, it's not really something to make fun of. I guess for me it's always going to be a little strange because I've never been fond of mockery. As somebody who was bullied whenever I was a kid for being kind of weird and quiet, mockery always leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Anyway, I can't help but wonder about the idea of intellect shaming. It's the idea that in some places in the country people are made fun of for valuing education. In my case, I lived in a pretty rural area where education just wasn't really that important. If you valued education, it was not necessarily going to get you into a better job. However, you can see it in many communities. The term acting white comes to mind, which is something that's often applied to non-white people in non-white communities who value education. The idea seems to be that if you value education, you might find yourself starting to feel superior to people who don't really value education. Which seems fair, actually. People with educations often are extremely condescending to people without educations. People often falsely correlate education with intelligence. So is intellect shaming just a damaging practice in which people are peer pressured into devaluing education? Or is it an understandable backlash against condescending intellectuals? Probably both. Either way, I'd like to see fewer people being made fun of for being smart, and more people being called out for being condescending. And that applies to me as well. I have no problem with people calling me out whenever I cross that line. Thanks for watching. See you next week.